My brother slept with my wife, and my own family told me to forgive him. So I took my daughter and vanished without a trace. Now, years later, they suddenly want to fix the family. That Tuesday, I got home 3 hours early. The client meeting had been cancelled, so I thought I'd surprise Celine with takeout from her favorite restaurant. Maybe we could put Lyra to bed early and actually talk for once. We'd been distant lately, work stress, I thought. Normal marriage stuff. Corbin's truck was in my driveway. My younger brother didn't visit often. We weren't close, not really. Different lives, different priorities. But family is family, right? That's what our parents always said. I walked in through the front door, grocery bag in one hand, briefcase in the other. They were all in the living room. My parents sat on the couch. Celine in the armchair, hands folded in her lap. Corbin standing by the window, arms crossed. Everyone turned when I entered, like they'd been waiting. "Hey," I said slowly. "What's going on?" My mother spoke first. "We need to talk, as a family." I set down the groceries. Something was wrong. The air felt rehearsed, like they'd already had this conversation without me. "Okay," I said. "Talk." Celine wouldn't meet my eyes. Corbin looked at the floor. My father cleared his throat. "There's been a situation," Dad said. "A complication. We've discussed it, and we think the best path forward is I'm pregnant." Celine cut in. Her voice was flat. "Matter of fact." I blinked. "We've been trying for a second kid for 2 years. Doctors said it probably wouldn't happen. And now, that's amazing," I started, but something in her face stopped me cold. She still wouldn't look at me. "It's mine," Corbin said quietly. The words hung there. I heard them, understood the sounds, but my brain couldn't process the meaning. "What?" I said. "The baby," Corbin continued, finally meeting my eyes. "It's mine, not yours." I looked at Celine. She was crying now, silent tears running down her face. But she didn't deny it. "How long?" I asked. My voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone else. 6 months, she whispered. 6 months. Half a year. While I was working late to pay for the house renovations she wanted. While I was taking Lyra to gymnastics every Tuesday. While I was trying to be a good husband, a good father, a good brother. I turned to my parents. Surely they'd. "We know you're angry," Mom said. "We understand. But this situation affects the whole family." "The whole family," I repeated. "Corbin made a mistake," Dad said. "Celine made a mistake. But what's done is done. The question now is how we move forward." I waited for them to tell me they'd kicked him out. Cut him off. Chosen me. "We think," Mom continued carefully, "that the best thing for everyone is if we work through this together. The baby is coming regardless. Fighting won't change that." "Fighting?" I said. "Corbin is your brother," Dad said. His voice had that tone, the one from childhood, when he was explaining why I had to share my toys, why I had to be the bigger person, why blood mattered most. "He's family. This is messy and painful, but family stays together. You want me to forgive him?" It wasn't a question. "We want you to think about what matters most," Mom said. "Pride or family unity?" I looked at Corbin. He had the decency to look uncomfortable, at least. "You have anything to say?" I asked him. He shrugged. Actually shrugged. "I'm sorry, man. It just happened. 6 months doesn't just happen. Blood matters more than pride," Dad said. Those exact words. Like he'd prepared them. I looked around the room, at my wife, who'd been sleeping with my brother for half a year, at my brother, who'd been sleeping with my wife, at my parents, who'd already decided this was something I should get over. I'd come home expecting a quiet Tuesday night. Instead, I'd walked into an intervention for their guilt. "I need some air," I said. "Wait." Mom started, but I was already moving. I went upstairs, pulled a duffel bag from the closet, started throwing in clothes. Celine appeared in the doorway. "Where are you going?" she asked. "Away." "For how long?" I didn't answer, just kept packing. I went to Lyra's room. She was sleeping, curled up with that stuffed rabbit she'd had since she was 8 years old. My daughter, the only person in this house who hadn't betrayed me. I woke her gently. "Hey, sweetheart, we're going on a trip." "Now?" She rubbed her eyes. "It's nighttime." "I know, but we need to go. Trust me, okay?" She looked at my face and something in my expression made her nod. She didn't argue, didn't ask questions, just got up and started putting on her shoes. Downstairs, my family was waiting in the hallway. "You're leaving?" Mom asked, panicked now. "Just like that?" I picked up my bag. Lyra stood beside me, holding her rabbit. "Don't do this," Dad said. "We can work through this if you just blood matters more than pride," I interrupted, repeating his words back to him. "You're right." I looked down at Lyra, then back at them. "My blood matters more than your pride." I opened the door, walked to the car, strapped Lyra into her seat. She was quiet, watching me with those big eyes that looked just like mine. As I backed out of the driveway, I took one last look at the house. They were all standing in the doorway, watching us leave. Confused, maybe starting to realize what they'd just done. I drove until the house disappeared in the rearview mirror. I didn't know where we were going yet, but I knew one thing with absolute certainty. I would never return as the same person who'd walked through that door 3 hours ago. 5 years later, I sat in a conference room on the 32nd floor of a building I partially owned, watching my acquisition team present their weekly findings. Lyra was 13 now, straight A student, debate team captain. She had her own opinions about everything and wasn't afraid to share them. We'd landed in a different city that first night, stayed in a hotel for 3 days while I figured out our next move. I never told her the full details of why we left, not then. But she was smart enough to know it was permanent. We changed our phone numbers. I left my old job, cashed out my 401k, took a consulting contract with a mid-sized firm that needed someone who could analyze distressed companies. Turned out I was good at it. Really good. 1 contract became 3. 3 became 10. 2 years in, I launched Ironcrest Holdings with 2 partners I trusted. We specialized in buying debt portfolios, companies that had borrowed too much, expanded too fast, made bad bets. We'd acquire their loans for pennies on the dollar, restructure or liquidate, and walk away with substantial returns. It wasn't glamorous work, but it was profitable. And I was very, very good at not thinking about the family I left behind. Next item, my partner, Quincy, said, sliding a folder across the table. Construction company. Regional player, took on 3 major projects simultaneously, got hit with lawsuits on 2 of them. Bleeding cash. Banks ready to unload the debt at 60 cents on the dollar. I flipped through the financials without much interest. Construction companies were messy, labor disputes, material cost overruns, subcontractor drama. We usually passed on them. Revenue projections? I asked. Non-existent, Quincy said. They're 4 months behind on payroll. Suppliers have stopped delivering. The owner keeps promising turnaround plans but can't execute. I turned the page. Standard stuff. Then I saw the company name at the top of the incorporation documents. Drake Construction LLC. Owner, Corbin Drake. My hand didn't shake. My expression didn't change. 5 years of building a wall between my past and present had taught me perfect control. But inside, something cold and sharp clicked into place. What's the total exposure? I asked calmly. Quincy checked his notes. $2.3 million in outstanding loans. Plus another $800,000 in liens and judgments. The company's technically insolvent. Collateral? Equipment, mostly. Some real estate. And he paused, flipping pages. Looks like the owner's parents co-signed on the primary note. Used their house as additional collateral 2 years ago when the bank demanded more security. Of course they did. My assistant, Tara, was watching me carefully. She'd been with me since year 2, knew my patterns. Everything okay? She asked. Fine, I said. What's the bank asking? Like I said, 60 cents on the dollar. They want it off their books by end of quarter. I did the math. 1.4 million to buy debt worth 2.3 million with a house attached. If we foreclosed, we own everything. Thoughts? Quincy asked. Normally, I'd say pass. Construction's outside our wheelhouse. But the collateral ratio is solid. Tara was still watching me. She'd noticed something. The owner's name, I said carefully. Drake. That's not common. Small regional outfit. Quincy said with a shrug. Owner's probably some guy who thought he could expand faster than his capital allowed. Tale as old as time. I closed the folder. Set it down gently. Buy it, I said. Quincy blinked. The whole portfolio? We usually take time, too. All of it. The construction company debt, the equipment liens, everything. And check if the mortgage on that house is part of the package. If not, acquire it separately. That's aggressive, Tara said quietly. What's the play? I met her eyes. The play is we own the debt. What happens after that, we'll decide once we have control. Quincy made a note. I'll draft the offer. Should have term sheets by Friday. Expedited. I want this closed in 2 weeks. After the meeting, Tara lingered. You know him, she said. Not a question, I used to. Bad history? The worst kind. She nodded slowly. We don't have to do this. There are other deals. No, I said. We're doing this one. She left. I sat alone in the conference room, looking out at the city skyline. Somewhere, 3 hours away in my hometown, Corbin was probably drowning in stress, bills piling up. Creditors calling. Maybe asking our parents for more help. Maybe they'd already given everything they had. I picked up the folder again, opened it to the financial statements. Studied the pattern of decline. The desperate refinancing attempts, the slow-motion collapse. They'd chosen him 5 years ago. Told me blood mattered more than pride. Now I'd see how much their blood was really worth. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. Spam calls were constant. But something made me look at the area code. My hometown. 5 years of absolute silence, and now this. I stared at the screen as it rang. Once. Twice. On the third ring, I answered. Hello? Silence on the other end. Then breathing. Someone gathering courage. It's me. My mother's voice said. Shaky. Uncertain. Please don't hang up. I said nothing. Just waited. It's about Corbin, she continued, words coming faster now. His company, the construction business. It's in trouble. Serious trouble. The bank is threatening to foreclose and we don't know what to do. I leaned back in my chair, looking out at the city below. 5 years of silence, and this was what broke it. Not an apology, not regret, a request. We used the house to help him, she said. 2 years ago. He needed capital and the bank wouldn't lend without more collateral, so we co-signed. Put up the house. We thought it would be temporary, just until he got back on his feet. Of course they did. But it got worse. She continued. The lawsuits, the contracts falling through. He tried, he really did. But now the bank is saying they're going to seize everything. The business, the equipment, our house. We could lose it all. I could hear her crying now. Soft, desperate sounds. The family needs you, she said. Please. Come home. We can sit down. Talk this through. You were always the smart one. The one who could figure things out. Maybe you can help us find a solution. Is Celine still with him? I asked. My first words since answering. Mom hesitated. No. That ended a while ago. 2 years. Maybe. It didn't work out between them. What happened to the kid? Corbin has him. She left. Just walked away when things got hard. The irony was almost beautiful. They destroyed my marriage for an affair that collapsed under its own weight. Celine had abandoned the child she'd chosen over our family. And now Corbin was raising a kid alone while his company imploded. We made mistakes, Mom said. I know that. Your father knows that. We should have handled things differently 5 years ago, but we're still family. That has to mean something. I let the silence stretch again. Please. She whispered. Just come home. One conversation. That's all we're asking. I heard shuffling. Then my father's voice. Son. He said, trying for authoritative, landing on desperate. I know we hurt you. What happened back then, we made the wrong call. But this is different. This is about survival. Corbin has a child to think about. Your mother and I could lose the house we've lived in for 30 years. I said nothing. We need to sit down. He continued, face to face. Talk this through like adults. You've built something impressive. Your mother looked up your company. We're proud of you. Really. And maybe with your expertise, you can see an angle we're missing. Proud, the word was almost funny. Come home. He said, let's fix the family. Isn't that worth one trip? More silence. I could hear my mother crying in the background. Please. Dad said, his voice cracking. Just come home. One conversation. That's all we need. I let them wait. Let the hope build. Let them think the silence meant I was considering it. I'll think about it, I said finally. Thank you. Mom said, grabbing the phone back. Relief flooding her voice. Thank you. When can you? I hung up. Set the phone down on my desk. Sat perfectly still for a full minute. They wanted to fix the family. Wanted me to come home, sit at that same table where they told me to forgive Corbin. Wanted me to use my success, the success I'd built in the ashes of what they destroyed, to save them. Blood matters more than pride. That's what my father had said. I picked up my office phone, dialed my lawyer's direct line. It's me. I said when he answered. That Drake construction acquisition we discussed this morning, I want you to proceed with foreclosure. Standard timeline. Both properties? He asked. The business and the residential mortgage? Both properties. Any grace period? Sometimes with family situations. No grace period. I said. Follow the contract terms exactly. No extensions, no negotiations, no courtesy calls. Understood. He said. I'll have the notices prepared. I hung up, opened my laptop, pulled up my email. New message. To my mother's email address, which I still remembered. Subject. Coming home. I left the body completely blank. Just attached 2 files. Drake Construction Foreclosure Notice.pdf. Drake Residential Mortgage Foreclosure Notice.pdf. My cursor hovered over the send button. 5 years ago, they'd asked me to choose between pride and family. They'd made their choice clear. Now I was making mine. I clicked send. The email sat in my sent folder. 2 attachments. 0 words. I closed my laptop and went home. I imagined my mother opened that email within minutes. She'd been waiting by her phone since we hung up, probably refreshing her inbox every 30 seconds. I imagined she saw my name in her inbox and felt relief, hope. Maybe he's coming home after all. I imagined she clicked it open, saw the blank message body, frowned in confusion. Then saw the attachments. I imagined her hand shaking as she opened the first PDF, scanning the legal language, not understanding at first. Then seeing Drake Construction LLC at the top. Notice of default and foreclosure. I imagined the second one loading slower. Her heart already racing. Residential mortgage foreclosure notice. And then the creditor name at the bottom of both documents, Ironcrest Holdings. My company. I imagined the moment it clicked. The phone slipping from her hands. The sound she made. My phone rang 17 minutes after I sent the email. I let it ring twice. Poured myself a drink. Sat down on my couch. Answered on the third ring. What is this? My mother's voice was barely recognizable. High-pitched. Panicked. What are you doing? Sending documents. I said calmly. You asked me to think about it. I did. You? She was hyperventilating. You own the loans? You own Corbin's debt? You own our mortgage? I bought them 3 weeks ago, I said. Before you ever called. The silence was heavy. I could hear her breathing. Trying to process. You knew? She whispered. When I called you. When I begged you. You already knew? Yes. And you listened to me beg and you didn't say anything? You asked me to fix the family, I said. I'm fixing it my way, I heard fumbling. My father's voice, distant, what's wrong? What is it? Then he was on the phone. What the hell did you send her? She's foreclosure notices, I said. Both properties. Corbin's business and your house. Silence. Different from my mother's. This was shock turning to rage. This is revenge? He said finally. You destroy your own family over something that happened 5 years ago? I'm not destroying anything, I said. I'm collecting on debts. That's business. Business? This is your brother. Your mother and I raised you. You raised me to believe family loyalty mattered. I cut him off. Then you proved it didn't. Not when it came to choosing sides. We can fight this, he said. Lawyers, courts. You can't just read the fine print on Corbin's foreclosure notice, I interrupted. Page 7, the clause about dispute resolution. I heard papers rustling. A long pause. 2 years ago, when Corbin's company was desperate, he borrowed from a private lender. That was one of my shell companies. He signed away his litigation rights as part of the agreement. It's ironclad. My lawyers made sure of it. You planned this? Dad said slowly. You've been planning this for years. No. I said. I built a business. But when your debt crossed my desk. Yes. I planned what came next. How long do we have? His voice was hollow now, defeated. 60 days. Standard foreclosure timeline. My mother grabbed the phone back. Please, she sobbed. We'll apologize. We'll do anything. What do you want? Money? We'll find it somehow. Just tell us what you want. I closed my eyes. 5 years ago, I would have given anything to hear her say those words. 5 years ago, an apology might have mattered. 5 years ago, I would have taken an apology, I said quietly. You chose differently. We were wrong, she cried. We know that now, we've known it for years. We just didn't know how to shouting in the background. Corbin's voice. Let me talk to him. Sounds of struggle. Then my brother on the line. You B-word, he snarled. You self-righteous petty B-word. You're going to ruin us over a mistake? I have a son, a 4-year-old son. What's he supposed to? I hung up. Blocked all 3 numbers. Sat in the quiet of my living room. Lyra was at the dining table behind me doing homework. She'd been there the whole time, listening. Was that them? She asked without looking up from her math problems. Yeah. You okay? I took a sip of my drink. I'm perfect. She nodded. Went back to her homework. That's the thing about Lyra. She understood. Had understood since she was 8 years old watching me pack that duffel bag. She'd asked me once when she was 11 why we never talked to them. I told her the truth. All of it. She listened, then said, good. I don't want to talk to them either. My daughter knew the value of loyalty. Knew what it meant when people chose convenience over character. She was 13 now. Sharper than I'd ever been at that age. I went back to work the next day. Ignored the blocked call attempts that showed up as notifications. 17 in the first 24 hours. Then 32. Then they stopped. 3 days later, Tara brought me a certified letter that had arrived at the office. Return address, my parents' house. I stared at the envelope on my desk for a full hour before touching it. I didn't open the letter that day or the next. It sat on my desk, pristine white envelope with my parents' careful handwriting on the front. I'd see it every morning when I came in, every evening before I left. A ghost demanding attention. Meanwhile, they tried everything else. My voicemail filled up. I'd check my phone and see 15, 20 new messages. I didn't listen to a single one. Just mass deleted them and moved on. Emails flooded my work account. Subject lines ranged from "please read this" to "from your mother" to "urgent family emergency." All went straight to trash. Unread. On day 5, Tara buzzed my office. "You have visitors in the lobby." "I'm not expecting anyone." "I know. That's why I'm calling." I pulled up the security camera feed on my laptop. Split screen showing the main entrance and reception area. My parents sat in the waiting area. Mom clutching her purse. Dad staring at the elevator doors like he could will them open through force of thought. "Tell them I'm unavailable." I said. "Already did." "They said they'll wait." I checked the camera feed every hour. They didn't move, didn't leave. Just sat there in those uncomfortable lobby chairs, aging in real time. I wasn't even in the building. I've been working from our secondary office across town all week, monitoring everything remotely. Old habit from my consulting days, always have a backup location. At 5:00 p.m., I watched them finally stand up. Mom said something to the receptionist. Dad's shoulders were slumped. They walked out slowly, like they'd aged a decade in 6 hours. They came back the next day. And the day after that. On the third day, I sent company-wide instructions. If anyone named Drake showed up, building security was to politely but firmly escort them out. Trespassing protocols. They stopped coming. 2 days later, I finally opened the certified letter. Handwritten. My mother's careful cursive online notebook paper. 5 pages. I don't know how to start this. I've written this letter 20 times and thrown it away 20 times. But I need you to know we were wrong. Completely, devastatingly wrong. She detailed everything. The financial collapse. The loans they couldn't pay. The house they were about to lose. Corbin's business in ruins. His son, my nephew, she emphasized, facing an unstable future. We chose wrong 5 years ago. We know that now. We've known it for years but didn't know how to reach you. How to say we're sorry. And now it might be too late. Please. If you ever loved us. If family ever meant anything. Please don't do this. Fact: between pages 3 and 4 was an old photograph. The 4 of us. Me. Corbin. Mom. Dad. At some family barbecue. I was maybe 12. Corbin 9. We were smiling. Arms around each other's shoulders. Back when brotherhood meant something. I looked at that photo for a long time. Then I filed the letter in my desk drawer and went back to work. Lyra was waiting when I got home. What did they say? Everything they should have said 5 years ago. She nodded. Didn't ask to read it. Just understood. A week later, my lawyer called. Update on the Drake properties. He said. They're attempting to refinance. Applied to 6 different banks in the last 72 hours. And? Every single one rejected them. The foreclosure notice is public record now. It scared off every legitimate lender. They're exploring hard money loans, but even those guys are passing. Good. I said. Proceed as planned. He hesitated. Just checking one more time. You're certain about this? Once we file the formal foreclosure paperwork, it becomes very difficult to reverse. Completely certain. Understood. I'll move forward. 4 weeks pass. I stopped checking the blocked call notifications. Stopped thinking about the letter in my drawer. The foreclosure was automated now, moving through its legal channels without requiring my attention. Then an email appeared in my work inbox. Sender I didn't recognize, but the subject line made me click it. Subject: I'm sorry. From celine.morrison.personal@gmail.com. I stared at that name. My ex-wife. I'd successfully avoided thinking about her for 5 years, and now here she was, reaching out like we were old friends reconnecting. I opened it. I know I have no right to contact you. I know you probably hate me. You should. But I've been thinking about you a lot lately. Corbin told me what's happening with the foreclosure. With your parents losing their house. I don't know if this helps. But I need you to know I destroyed everything for nothing. He left me when our son was 2. Said he couldn't handle being a father. Now he has custody anyway because I couldn't handle it either. The irony isn't lost on me. You deserved better. You deserved everything I couldn't give you. And I'm sorry. I don't know if helping them would help you heal. Maybe it would. Maybe forgiveness is the path forward for everyone. I wanted you to know I'm sorry. For all of it. I read it twice. Then I hit reply. You're right. I deserved better. So I built better. Without any of you. Don't contact me again. I blocked her email address. That weekend, I took Lyra to her favorite restaurant. Italian place downtown with real tablecloths and candles. She ordered the lobster ravioli, same as always. Halfway through dinner, she set down her fork. Do you ever feel bad? She asked. About what's happening to them. I considered the question honestly. No. I feel nothing. That's how I know I made the right choice. She nodded slowly. Good. Me, neither. We finished our meal in comfortable silence. My phone rang as we were leaving. My lawyer. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something made me answer. Unexpected development, he said. They found someone willing to buy the house and pay off the debt. I stopped walking. Who? Local businessman. Former client of Corbin's, apparently, wants to help them out. But there's a condition. What condition? The buyer wants to meet you first. Says he won't move forward without your approval. I stood on the sidewalk, Lyra watching me carefully. Why would he need my approval? I asked. He says he knows the history. Wants to make sure this isn't interfering with something you're trying to accomplish. A stranger wanting to rescue my family, asking for my permission first. He's waiting for your response, my lawyer said. Will you meet with him? I agreed to one meeting. Neutral location. My lawyer's conference room. 20 minutes, max. The buyer was a man named Wallace Pruitt. Mid-50s. Weathered hands. Contractor's build. He stood when I entered, offered a firm handshake. Appreciate you coming, he said. I know this is unusual. It is. I agreed. Sitting down. Why do you want to buy my parents' house? Worked with your brother about 7 years back. Wallace said, small project, but he did good work. Honest, on time, quality. Before everything went sideways, he pulled out a folder. I've done well for myself. Got the capital to help. And I believe in paying forward good treatment. But I also believe in respecting people's business. And you think this is just business? I asked. I think it's complicated. He said. I know the history. Not my place to judge. But they're desperate, and I can help. Question is whether you'll allow it. I leaned back. You'd pay fair market value for the house? I would. They'd walk away clear. You'd profit. Seems like everyone wins. Except me learning they face consequences. Wallace nodded slowly. Sounds like they already have. 5 years of losing you was the real consequence. Wasn't it? I studied him, trying to read an angle. A manipulation. Found none. Just a businessman who'd been treated well once, wanting to return the favor. You're not wrong. I said finally. But I'm not interested in fair market value. His expression didn't change. What are you interested in? 15% below market. They take that deal or lose everything. And they have 48 hours to decide. Not a minute more. Wallace considered this. That's harsh. That's generous. I corrected. Compared to foreclosure. He extended his hand. Deal. I'll make the offer today. The transaction closed in 12 days. My parents sold their house at a loss. Moved to a 2-bedroom apartment on the other side of town. Corbin's business was liquidated, assets sold off, debts settled. He got a regular job with a construction crew. Hourly wage, no ownership. I received the final payment, closed the file, and never spoke to any of them again. 6 months later, I was working from home when my email dinged. Spam filter had caught something trying to reach my inbox. Sender, my mother. Subject, thank you. I think. I stared at the notification. One click would open it. One click would show me what she wanted to say now, after everything. I deleted it without reading. Permanently. Not even trash. Just gone. Lyra walked into my office carrying 2 plates. Made grilled cheese. You want one? Yeah. I said. Closing my laptop. Thanks. We ate in the living room. She was telling me about her debate tournament next week, the argument she was preparing, how her team had a real shot at regionals. We should celebrate if you win, I said. What if we lose? We celebrate anyway. You tried. That's what matters. She grinned. You're getting soft in your old age. I'm 38. Ancient, she said, laughing. I looked around our house. Different city, different life. Built from scratch with my daughter, the one person who'd chosen me when it mattered. 5 years ago, my family told me blood matters more than pride. They chose Corbin. Chose unity over justice. Chose the easy path over the right one. I learned a different lesson. Chosen family matters more than blood. Lyra chose me. I chose her. We chose ourselves. The family that betrayed me lost everything that mattered. Not because I destroyed them. I didn't. I gave them a way out. Let them survive. But I did it on my terms. My timeline. My conditions. They'd wanted me to come home, sit down, fix the family. Wanted me to use everything I'd built in the wreckage of what they destroyed to save them from their own choices. Instead, I sent documents. No explanations. No arguments. No presents. Just the cold, legal reality of debts coming due. When they needed me most, I gave them exactly what they gave me 5 years ago, nothing. Just silence and the understanding that some betrayals don't get repaired. They don't get closure. They don't get forgiveness. They get consequences. And 5 years of silence to think about it. Dad, Lyra said, you okay? You got quiet. I smiled. Yeah, I'm perfect. Want to watch a movie tonight? Only if I get to pick. Deal. She went to cue something up on the TV. I sat there, plate empty, life full. Somewhere across the state, my parents were living in their small apartment. Corbin was clocking in at his job. Maybe they thought about me. Maybe they regretted their choices. I wouldn't know. Because I'd never ask. Some betrayals don't deserve closure. They deserve silence. And I gave them 5 years of it.